Hello and welcome to Candid Convos with Jona Dance. My name is Monique Jonas and I'm the founder of Jona Dance and your host for today's episode. Here at Candid Convos, I get to talk with some really wonderful guests working within our industry about the ins and outs of everything contemporary dance and also the wider dance field. So today, I'm super happy to be inviting Vidya Patel to join me for a conversation. Hey Vids, how are you?
Hey Monique, I'm feeling good. Feel very excited to be here with you. And yeah, just looking forward to chatting away.
Thank you. What are you up to at the minute? Like, how's your week been? Or has it been quite busy? Have you got a bit more time?
I feel like this week's been a bit of like an organisation week. One of those ones where there's things coming up and okay, we've got a bit of training, we've got a bit of organising for future projects, but also a bit of like family time, but a bit of juggling. It's a bit of a juggling one where you're like, okay, what do I need to prioritise? But we're getting through it and here we are, you know, we're Friday.
Yeah,
so
it is Friday. We made it.
We made it.
So
it's going good. I think it's one of those weeks where I like know that there's a lot coming up and I'm trying to be like, okay, let's organise and prep.
Yes, amazing. So, this is really good. We're going to touch on this a little bit later, which is like fantastic. Thank you for taking the time to come and just like have a chat with me. But before we get into our topic, I would love if you could just introduce yourself, tell us a bit about who you are. You can offer as little or as much information as you would like. Just, who is Vidya Patel? Let the people know.
My name is Vidya, a dance artist. Have also had the privilege of dancing with Monique. I also choreograph. I love like all things creative. So whether it's like a bit of painting here, a bit of collage work there, but overall just finding ways of expression, I guess. And I think like the main thing is like I love connecting with like people. And I think through dance, like it's one of the best ways to do that. You're always in a new place, new group of people. So yeah, I feel like dance has been a really nice way to sort of open up different avenues and meet wonderful people like yourself.
And I mean, we've known each other for quite a while now, isn't it? We met at Richard Austin Dance. I was an apprentice and Vidya was a guest artist.
I literally remember the day that you were auditioning, I was like, yeah, Monique has got that job. We were all sitting on the side. I was like, who is that person? They are phenomenal. I remember, and then we were touring together.
Yep. Sharing rooms. Matching outfits. Yeah. I'm genuinely surprised we're not matching today.
Literally, like that was the first thought. I was like, okay, Monique might be matching me today. Let's flow with it. But we're contrasting.
We are contrasting. It's probably because we haven't seen each other in a little while.
Exactly.
That matching flow is like taking its moment to come back in. I always think it's quite good to hear about people's journeys because at school, we kind of get told that this is one way through the industry. And so it's quite good to hear how different people like enter into the industry, how they find their way through, because there's no one consistent way that's like, this is how to be a dancer, a creative, a choreographer, and all of those wonderful things. What was your entry into dance like?
So for me, again, I feel like everyone's found their different ways of like approaching it. But for me, you know, it was that thing of like going to classes when I was younger. Like my sisters were going to dance classes, so then I just sort of followed along. And then there was like certain programs, I guess when I was younger, where I was like, whoa, like professional dancers were coming in. I was like, wow, you can be in a studio and have this sort of exposure with people who are doing it for like a full-time career.
Yeah.
And I think that was when I was like, wow, like this can be a profession. Again, like no one in my family has gone into it as a profession, but I guess everyone's been like, yeah, we love the arts, we love the possibilities of doing a creative job, but didn't really know how.
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, figuring it out. But I think there's been certain like key people that you'll probably find as well that within the career like journey have been like key to sort of unlocking something, whether it's like confidence or like an opportunity that you've seen yourself in another way, or just like been an opening to a whole new world. So I feel like for me, it was a lot on the job. Like I didn't go to like a conservatoire, even though,
Right.
you know, I would have loved to. And even now I'm like, oh my God, maybe. But who knows? And I think like the path can be so different. So it was literally like, I guess, on the job and through like different projects or like touring opportunities, then like learning.
Yeah.
I think some feeling like I'm literally in the deep end
Yeah.
and like swimming my way.
Just keeping your head afloat. Yeah.
I think definitely when I was with you or at Rachel Dawson, I was like, yeah, this is a floating game, but loving.
That's crazy because like from an outside eye, like it did not look like that one bit. You
That's
came in, you were like cool, calm, collected. You were.
I remember.
And you were just like, yeah, you were taking class with us, like all of this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is amazing.
I think all of you were so like welcoming though, and you were all like, yeah, we're here for this person who has not come through a similar sort of training background and is just trying to do some leaps and jumps across the room.
Trying to do some leaps and jumps. We did always do leaps and jumps.
So many times. And
Yeah,
I
we
was like,
did.
every time that came up, I was like,
Oh,
okay.
here we go. So could you just maybe like talk a little bit about the style of dance that you started in and maybe
Sure.
like when contemporary dance or things of that nature became a bit more interesting to you or something that you wanted to pursue?
The majority training that I have had is in Kathak, which is North Indian classical dance. I guess when I was younger, I went to Bharatanatyam classes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, which is
Oh.
like it's a more popular Indian classical dance form that a lot more people are training in within the UK.
Wow.
But I only did that for like a few years. And again, because I was so young, I don't really remember it, but I just have like an admiration, like when I see it now.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I trained in Kathak and still, you know, training and practicing. But the form, I guess, for people who may not have seen it, it's very much sort of in terms of your lower half of your body. There's a lot of percussive elements.
Yeah.
You know, if people have seen flamenco, there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, that's actually a really good connection.
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like that's a good in way because people may have seen that, but also like the journey of Kathak as well is a traveling dance form. So there's a lot of influences that have been like picked up, whether that's through like Spain or like Persia, because again, there was a lot of Persian influence because it's a...
Did not know that.
Yeah, so like especially the music as well, because it's like a North Indian classical dance form. There was a time where there was a lot of Persian influence and also the Mughal era that brought another sort of element to the dance form where people were performing it for like emperors in palaces, and
Wow.
that's where then like the grandeur element of the dance form came about,
Yeah.
rather than like just traveling and telling stories. So yeah, it's like a storytelling art form.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful dance form, which I love. And I think it's really amazing to see how people have sort of taken it into other different ways. Like there's many artists who practice it and sort of have found their different pathways of how it influences their art.
That's amazing. And would you say, like, are there any crossovers or connections between the Kathak and contemporary dance, or that you've noticed or explored as like your artistry and creative eye has developed?
I think there's definitely like similarities between it. I guess there's a lot of fluidity that comes with the form, but also I guess like musicality, that was like a big one.
Yeah.
Like I guess when we were with Richard as well,
Yeah.
like that was like a huge part of it, where
true.
I think being part of that work, I was like, yeah, there's a lot of like similarities, or why I found that as a way in to get into, I guess, like the rep or like the choreography. Musicality is a big one. And I guess with contemporary kind of comes from like the ballet, Western classical. So there's elements of that. Obviously, there's broader terms within that.
Yeah.
But with Kathak, I feel there is that openness that people can sort of find ways into it. And because there's so much to it, you can sort of like focus in on one. But again, you need to try and know and keep learning all.
Yes.
at the same
Yeah,
time.
I mean that's very solid and valid advice. Stay well rounded because there's so many fusions.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to say it. There's so many artists exploring fusions between different practices
Yeah.
and styles across the wider dance industry anyway. So it's actually really insightful to have a bit of like the historical context of it and kind of like be like, oh, well, this is why maybe this is what we're seeing in this sort of space, you know?
Yes.
Instead of just being like, this looks nice, let's do this also, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like having substance to like why it might be in a space, or like what sort of influences are we bringing, and where do they come from?
Where do they come from? Because I feel like it just helps us to appreciate the art form a little bit more, or like appreciate it in its entirety maybe, rather than just like, oh, what we're visually receiving just like in its entirety. But I feel like that's a whole other that's a conversation for another day maybe.
Yeah,
Just like yes. Okay, so we're gonna just quickly do a quick fire this or that edition. So you just have to pick one, and if it's none, you can just be like, none.
Okay, I'm here for it.
None of those. Okay, so all dance related.
Okay.
So would you prefer to create a solo or a group piece?
Group piece.
Oh, why?
Do you know what? I think I just love like the element that lots of different people bring, like through their like, you know, lived experiences or just like individuality.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm like, ooh, would like to start a solo too.
Yeah.
But
on you?
yeah, I think it's been a while. So, you know, also in the background. But if it's like one to go through, like straight, I'd be like ensemble.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Spoken like a true creative. Okay, next one. Would you prefer your hair up or out when dancing?
Ooh.
Yeah.
This is
I
a
thought
hard
this was a good one for you.
I think I've been used to it being up a lot, but over the past few years, like enjoying the outness of it.
Yeah.
But again, like I had cut my hair really short.
Yeah.
And then it was a whole nother thing. And I was like, okay, cool. But was like less weight as well.
Yeah, it's true.
I like the mix of both and just like seeing where
it fits.
Yeah, where it fits, you know, if there's any like hair choreography that can come into it.
Yeah.
But also I love like really like a slick back
Do you?
away, like too. Like big fan, because I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about it. It's just me, my head, and that's like
my head
and that's it. Because sometimes like with spins, or like if there's any like things coming in the way, like just getting used to that, that, you know, can change a whole thing if you ain't practiced like that for that piece or something.
Facts, big facts. Because I mean, I've got afro hair, right? Yeah. And I'm so used to having my hair either slicked back, pulled back, and like my hair doesn't weigh a lot. My strands are very light. And then I'll dance with braids, for example.
Yes.
All over the place.
Whoa.
People are getting hit. Do you know Issa? You remember Issa? Yeah. When we were partnering at Alston, he used to be like, your braids are hitting me in the face. And I'd be like, I'm so sorry.
But they're beautiful. I love like when you get your hair braided as well. Like
I love it too. The drama, all of those things. But I realised that they must be tied away.
I think for Don't Mind Me.
Oh, yeah.
You did get.
Oh, yeah. I had like a braided look.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That was fun. Oh, I loved that piece. Don't mind me. Yeah, I was looking at the pictures the other day because I was putting together a show reel.
I need to send you some stuff. It reminds me. I need to get organised and send some stuff across. I will do that.
That's so funny. That's amazing. You're like, oh, just reminded. You're totally fine when you can, because I appreciate you're busy. Okay, a shorter lunch break and finish earlier, or a longer lunch break and finish at the scheduled time? I feel like this gets said in the dance studio so much. Like, should we just like have a short lunch break and we can finish earlier?
Ooh.
Or take your actual lunch break and finish at a proper time?
It depends what's happening in life in that week.
Okay. I feel it depends what's happening in life.
Like if I need to get somewhere after, then I'll be like, yeah, short lunch break. I'm here for it.
Oh,
like I don't know if there's like, it's not often that I'll be like, after I've got to do this. But if there's like home things that I want to like sort, then I might be like, okay, like this just gives me that extra time before bedtime.
Yeah, fairs.
But then at the same time, I love a long lunch break where like I'm like, okay, I've had time to have a walk. Maybe, you know, if you want a little nap in there as well.
I'm very much team nap.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And then you like wake up, you're another person, you're ready for the afternoon.
Yeah.
However, I think I would like the average lunch.
Okay.
Average. An in-between.
Okay, that's good. I asked because I've been on so many jobs recently where they were like, should we just take a shorter lunch break and finish early? And I was like, ooh, like, do people prefer that or not? I have no idea.
Do you know what? I think when it would come to it, I'd be like, probably yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, fairs. Like in the moment, like finish earlier? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Just push through. Okay, are you team socks or team bare feet?
Recently, I've been like team socks.
Really?
Because also like my toes.
You're so
And I'm like, oh, I need to like,
That's
I just like to
amazing.
give some like toe care.
It gives
And,
it's the realness.
you know,
Yeah.
Sorry, nothing to do with the technique there or anything.
It's just
It's just
practicality.
practicality.
Got to do what we've got to do.
Or, you know, I'm like, oh my God, my feet need creaming.
Yeah. Oh, it's
They're
a real
dry.
thing.
Or
Yeah.
like, but
Yeah, do you know what? I'm so glad you actually said that, because there's so many times I'm just like, oh, like I have to moisturize my skin, otherwise they're looking ashy. You know, in the studio they're like, no creams, no lotions, because it makes the floor. And I was like, but I can't be out here ashy. We can't do that in this space.
It's so real. I'm like, but at the same time, bare feet, love.
Yeah, that's
Like,
my preferred.
yeah.
But I do think that's Alston, because we used to never dance in, on stage we used to never dance in socks. So I
Yeah,
got really used to
remember.
dancing barefoot, and then now in socks feels like a slip and slide.
Yeah, I think I always just trust like natural grip as
Yeah,
well.
fairs.
Like if it's doing like a piece in socks, like I'll probably just fall.
Probably just fall. That's real. Okay, a few more. Are you team tote bag or team backpack? That's a very contemporary dance thing.
Like today I've got a tote bag.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've got like a few items.
Yeah.
But when it's okay, we've got a long day, we need to pack like the laptop, this, that,
Yeah.
food, backpack.
Backpack
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite ones, just because like everyone at New Adventures always like asks me about it. So are you team Crocs or sliders? I have to put it there. The amount of Croc content I get sent is actually outrageous.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I think I'm sliders.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sliders.
Trying to like convert people team Crocs. This is not an ad, but team Crocs.
I've seen the amount you post about it. I have seen and I'm like, okay, cool. Like maybe soon.
Maybe soon. Okay, so you're open to it.
Yeah,
We love to see it.
Open.
Okay, and the final one, which is kind of like a bonus question, which I've been asking all of my guests.
Yeah.
What do you think is the average salary of a dancer in the UK?
Oh,
Yeah.
average salary. That's a really hard one.
Mm-hmm.
So many factors, so many dependents.
Yeah.
I would love to say like 26K.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to say that.
Okay, but
But I know that is really dependent on like what projects you may have. For example, like if you've got a commercial gig, boom, that is good,
yeah, you
really
don't have
good
to do-
money.
Exactly.
Or like a job which is like with visual arts or something like or fashion.
Oh, yeah, true.
It could be like a booster, but at the same time it's so like varying. I guess there's less and less like companies that have like yearly contracts now, and it's a lot of like project based
That's true.
on the individual to be like, okay, there's going to be this or that, or I've got this time, what am I going to do with it? So I'd like to think it's that, but honestly don't know.
With that in mind, would you then say that you would like to say 26K, but you think it's probably less?
I think it potentially might be less, but on the other side, if you're looking at maybe ballet companies, that's
Yeah, ballet companies are quite different, no?
Yeah.
Just because I feel like it's perhaps less project based in the
Yeah.
classical world, whereas the contemporary dance increasingly, as you said, is definitely becoming more like project to project to project, and it depends on how booked you stay, the type of projects you want to be on, and all of
Yeah.
that type of stuff. So I completely get it. But I've been asking all of my guests, because I just went into central London, I was in South Bank, and I just asked the general public to guess the average salary of the
That
contemporary
is
dance.
so good.
And I can tell you what that was off camera, but it's coming
Yeah.
in a separate episode. It was really interesting, the amount of people who didn't know what contemporary dance was, which I
Yeah.
wasn't surprised by, considering that the South Bank Centre is right there and Rambert Dance Company is literally like steps away from where they were.
Yeah.
That it just wasn't something that was like in their vicinity. Maybe that's a good way to say it. And then I guess the salary, and everyone was just like, the immediate response was, oh, I guess it's not very much. That was like majority of what people said. I was like, wow, okay, how can we have more conversations about that? Today, we're actually here to talk about work-life balance. And my question is, does she exist? Let's get into it. I feel like in the arts, well, I can speak from personal experience. At school, you're kind of taught to say yes to every opportunity, especially when we're freelancing, especially when we're going from project to project. The idea of turning down work with no guarantee of what the next job after that is going to be, I feel like encourages this idea to just keep going. That we don't take summer holidays most of the time. We don't take like festive holidays, days off in the week. Like our week structure maybe looks quite different. So I just wanted to ask, like, what are your thoughts? Do you think a work-life balance is achievable within the dance industry?
Great question, Monique. And I think definitely people need to talk about this a lot more as well, in terms of, does she exist?
Yeah.
Sometimes trying, but not. Like it doesn't like follow through. Sometimes I feel like right now is kind of there, but I am like really conscious of making that like life part like more balancing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like if a contract comes through and you're like, yes, like I would love to be part of it, this is brilliant, I will say yes. But I think you may have found as well that over the years, finding like different criteria of like, what does this mean for me, like I guess in the long term, or
Ooh, can you say more about this?
Yeah, like similarly, like that thing of saying yes to everything.
Yeah.
I am like, okay, that is such a good way to network, meet people, get yourself into the industry. But then at the same time, like, is that question of like, is it like serving you in terms of your vision, your like long-term hopes and dreams?
Yeah.
I think like recently as well, I've been like trying to like weigh this up, like in terms of if there's a project, like automatically, like if there's one that I'm like, yeah, gut instinct, like I've been lucky to be approached for this.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, yes, want to do it. But then on the other side, like just looking into others, and it might sometimes even be a logistical thing of like,
True.
actually, if I say yes to this, will I be able to give my all with the other commitments that I have
Right.
at that point?
Yeah.
So I guess like lots of different things to factor, but at the same time, like if the job is providing as well, like
Yeah.
financially, that's a whole nother thing where you're like, yes, you know, grateful for this.
Yeah.
We need to pay bills too. I'm
That
getting
part.
to dance
Yeah.
and getting paid. So I guess there's so many like avenues, and also like I guess work-life balance. I'm always trying to question like, how do you make it like life and work?
Yeah. So I was actually going to like backtrack a little bit and be like, in an ideal world, so like you can create it exactly how you want it to be. Like, what does a work-life balance look like for you?
Oh,
Yeah. Like in an ideal world, it would be like this work-life balance looks like, I don't know, 2 days off every week and being able to cook every evening. I don't know what that looks like, but like, what does the work-life balance look like for you in an ideal world?
I think work-life balance for me, like ideally would be like perhaps like 4 days. But then again, I was speaking to someone the other day. I was like, how do we feel about half days? Are creatives maybe more creative if they have half days? And then other days to pursue if they've got an own business or they've got another job, then finding that time to do like both.
Yeah.
So I guess like in my ideal world, it would be where one can like have that time to cook,
Yeah.
you know, make food, nourish. Yeah, that is a big one. That's
That is
on
a
top
big
of the
one.
list.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt that. You were like, nourish.
Yeah. When you said that, I was like, yes, Monique. Another one would probably be like, when are you getting a chance to delve into your sort of exploration as well? I say like 4 days because that one day could be like a nice like day before the weekend.
Yeah.
Like whether it's organizing, meeting friends, family, loved ones.
There's a lot to balance. Also because like you're an independent artist, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're an independent artist, like you are choreographing, you're creating, you're accepting commissions, you're offering work to other people. You are married, so there's married life there as well, home life, friends. That's a lot to manage. And I feel like I don't know if anyone does, but we don't necessarily have the structure from a self-employed life. Maybe that lends itself to be like, this is my week and this is my weekend. I know so many of us who work on Saturdays, who work out of hours. I've definitely sent an email probably to you guys at 10 o'clock last night to prepare for today. What sort of boundaries do you think are necessary to put in place to be able to like uphold this sort of work-life balance? Or do you feel like it's necessary at all to put those boundaries in?
Lots of thoughts sort of going around, but I definitely think like personal boundaries are good, and like whatever that may be for an individual, like, you know, there's lots of examples of what that could be. Like, oh, I'm going to block this weekend off and maybe decline jobs on that weekend because I know that we're maybe away, or even if I'm just staying at home, I'll just be like, okay, that is time for this. But I do say that, and at the same time, it's so difficult because then you might have another project where you're like, do you know what, this is good prep time for that as well. I'm trying to learn from other people and like say mentors or artists that I come across of like how they manage that. Again, like continuously learning. I feel like I don't have the full answer, and it's going to be ever evolving. Like
That's
also
true.
with freelance live, like we're always got different requirements for a certain job. If you're choreographing or directing, or if you're in another work, then it's like different sort of things that you need to prepare for, and the mind is in different sort of formats, so like you've got different hats on.
I think we both wear quite a lot of different hats. It's like one day it's like, oh, I'm the dancer in this, but then you go home in the evening because maybe you're choreographing the next day and you're like planning what you're doing in the session.
And
then you're like choreographer, and then you're just regular person the next day.
exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Doing some house chores,
This
doing
is
the
it.
laundry.
I feel like the freelance life is low-key humbling.
I agree.
Low-key humbling, but I think it's also what I like about it, that we get to be on stage, we get to choreograph, we get to do all of these wonderful things, but like when we step off stage, we're just like ordinary regular people. We have our time, we have our space. Do you give yourself like days off in a week? Is that something that you include? Because I've started structuring my week slightly differently, and it's quite hard, but I've given myself 2 days off. One day is a sort of like admin, you've got to do your washing, you've got to do your food shop, you've got to do all of that, and then the other day is an actual rest day, because I realized just the one, when I'm doing all the other stuff, is not, it doesn't equate to a rest. So like, what does that look like for you, if at all?
I think that's brilliant. Like what you said there, like I am attempting to do that. I think also I used to sometimes take like meetings all the time, and then realizing actually what if I just try and put them all into like one day, or like a certain part of the day, or like say after 12, if it's like on a day that I'm like, okay, this is a admin-y sort of day. So I think that what you mentioned, like attempting that as much as possible, because also it just helps me to sort of organize and find ways of like, how does my brain work in that sort of way? Because also I think certain times of like being a freelancer, I also love the unpredictability of it, even though it can be stressful. Like,
Absolutely.
it can be very stressful, but I feel like my brain can work in a way where it's like under that pressure at times does work at its best. I find for other creatives as well, it's like a way that their brain can actually work to its like best ability. I am trying to structure, but at the same time like really trying to question like, okay, where is this from? Like, is this from a corporate sort of background life?
Ooh, I hadn't even thought about it like that.
You know, like 9 to 5, like,
true.
you know, very like office corporate, but at the same time, like, oh, like, where did that come from? Like, I don't know.
I mean, that's a very valid question because I didn't actually think about it like that at all, like our week structure. But
Yeah.
anyone who's worked in the arts knows that 9 to 5 maybe doesn't really apply to us.
Yeah.
Because we're also following like creative impulses, creative interests. There's also creative fatigue.
Yeah.
I think we've both maybe been in situations where we have a short time frame or time period to create something. And I'm just like, sometimes the brain doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Well, some people can just like generate what they need to. I'm not one of those people. You know, need that time to have rest and find what is interesting to then generate something that is hopefully of a little bit more substance in whatever the creative process is.
I think definitely like what you picked up on like there about like rest and like that time to like create and explore.
Yeah.
But give yourself time as well is so important. I definitely think that replenishes as well, like creativity.
Because rest can also just be like hanging out with friends.
Yeah.
Rest can be, I don't know, vibing to music in your house. Like, I don't know what that looks like, you know, or cooking, or you mentioned like doing collages and things like that. Like other things that don't have to be like for work.
Yeah, totally.
Just to like fill up the soul. A little bit, mind, body, spirit, all of those type of things, like so that you're actually pouring from a fuller cup.
I know what you mean. Like, I think also that thing of like non-monetary as well. Like, what creativity do we have where we don't put like a
monetary value to
it? But at the same time, it's so hard within like the society that we live in.
Yeah.
Even you're good at one thing, they'll be like, come on, like, let's like find a way to.
Isn't
and
it?
Sometimes even my mind, I'm like, yeah. How can we do that?
Yeah.
And I love it at the same time. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, those moments of, okay, this is for me.
Yeah. So could you maybe talk a little bit about your creative process? If you're happy to share a little bit about your, I mean, I've been part of it, so as I feel like I have a greater sense, but for those who don't know about your practice, like, could you talk a bit more about your creative process?
Yeah, of course. Well, it's been always, I think, a figuring out, like, I don't know if you can resonate, but each and every process is so like different.
100%.
And I think through those processes, like, I find out more about myself, about like, okay, we've got so many different individuals who have like amazing strengths, and it's like, how can we bring these into the space in like the best way possible for a certain like narrative or a certain piece. But I guess like my work is a lot about like, it might be autobiographical, whether it's even like a snippet or like people may not know, it might just be like a little spark of say something about me, my heritage, my background, but also like a lot about identity as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's like just as individuals, as human beings, like how do we identify? I think that is a question a lot in my work, but also about like nature. Like, nature's so beautiful, it's around us, and it has so much inspiration to like give as well, that I'm like, okay, this is something that's like always going to be there as like an inspiration for movement and art. So yeah, those are a few of the things. And I guess more recently, like delving into other mediums, whether that's like photography or like collage, to see actually how do they influence like dance, but then vice versa, and just being like, okay, everything can kind of like coexist.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
like, how can we like expand as well? I think everyone has like so much creativity. Yeah. And you're like, come on, let's like tap into it. Woo.
I feel like having worked with you and also worked for you, which has been really lovely, observing those different dynamics as like an artist to learn from you in that way. I feel like you always lead your practice with like a people focus. So like the well-being of someone in the room, or how to like encourage them to feel safe in their creativity, to offer that in the space. I think you're really great at doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you are. Because I've seen a lot of generosity with the people that you bring in, and that even when they're tired, they're willing to be generous in the space. And that's quite a hard boundary to find. So that's a great testament to you. But I wonder, when you're not feeling at full capacity, how do you manage to facilitate a space thinking of others even when you're feeling a little bit the work-life balance is not balancing?
Yeah, I think also thank you. That's really kind of you to like say that from your like experience. That's very, very kind. I do like to center care, like as, okay, how can we really focus on that? Because also with our freelance lives, it's not always present. Like,
that's true.
You know, we don't have sick days. We don't have like certain things. Like,
we don't. If you don't turn up, you usually don't get paid.
Yeah, you don't get paid. And you're like, what? So it's like, I'm trying to like really hone in on that and learning as like through each and every process. But again, as you mentioned, maybe if you're leading a space, how do you do that? I think for myself, I have tried to keep conscious on like, do I walk to where I need to be to get like fresh air and just have like some sort of like downtime? Some things that I've found are helpful for me is, okay, do I bring someone that I know into the space to just make me feel sometimes at ease as well? Because I'm always going into different places and so are you as well. And I think I'm constantly questioning like, what is it that makes this space that is unfamiliar a safe space for me? Whether that's like, okay, music is a big one. I'm like, okay, this music, wherever I go, I'll be like, this is like home. It feels homey. Or other things of like people, collaborators. But I think definitely that thing of like blocking time is something that I'm trying to do, of being like, okay, this is like family or friends time.
Right.
Or this is like time I'm just going to be with myself.
Yes.
The attempt is there.
The attempt. Attempt. I mean, of course, like it's certain weeks, different things are going to crop up and then might throw off like the week schedule. I think it's really good to kind of bring that emphasis of like finding the downtime or finding those threads that are going to make the space feel safe to you. So then you can therefore create a safe space for others, because leading a room is not easy. It's not easy, especially when it's either with your peers and even more so when it's people you don't know, because then it's, I guess, an experience of trying to get to know the people in the room in order to be able to facilitate a space. So do you have any like memories of being in a space which you feel was either not particularly safe, and like what was it about it that you felt was a bit like, oh, okay, not sure if I want to bring my full self? Or you can do the opposite of like, actually this person facilitated a space and it made me think of this, that and the other? Because I've got some examples, but I'd love to hear from you.
In terms of like my examples, I guess from going like learning a lot on the job, I guess there's been so many people that have led space where I'm like, wow, okay, you responded to a certain thing in a certain way, and that's kind of stuck with me. Or like certain artists, they've been amazing in terms of their communication but not saying too much at the same time. And I'm like, wow, how do you do that? I think that's something I'm trying to learn, because you know, I love chatting, can chat a lot. So, I think people, whether that's like other artists in the room and constantly learning, I think there has definitely been times where I've gone into a space and I'm like, wow, okay, this is going to require a lot of energy from me, because maybe the setup that is there right now has been influenced by what was there before.
Okay.
And it's like, what am I now going to have to do to really shift this space or shift the energy that's there? Because right now the energy feels heavy so much that actually, how are we going to generate now like this working relationship together, especially if it's a new group? I remember sometimes would have a plan, and then, you know, as well, it's like, okay, we're scrapping that because it's not going to be useful in this scenario or atmosphere. And I think for me, I'm always like, okay, how can I build a sense of trust? Like also me figuring out people who I don't know, but them figuring out like me. And being like, okay, how are they actually coming into the space? Are they making me like go boom, boom, boom into this thing? And I think what you mentioned about schedules and like rest and time in the day, because we are so vulnerable when we go into spaces.
We are,
like we're just letting people, you know, direct
our
bodies and our minds. And you know, that comes from different places as well. So I think I'm trying to see how you can be conscious of that, and like things like breaks, rest time, communicating schedules. Like I've found
That's a big one.
big one. I found that so useful for me, like when artists have done that, and then I'm trying to do that for others when they're in a space as much as I can.
Yeah. No, I feel like the communicating schedules is also something that I've adopted as well. It's like when you do a plank. If you don't know how long you're doing a plank for, it feels awful.
Yeah.
But if you know that you're just doing a minute, you're like, there's an end goal.
Yeah.
I don't know why it feels like the journey to it through that 1 minute plank feels a little bit easier. And I feel like the working day can be like that as well. When it's like, cool, I know that we've got class, we've got a break, we've got a session. Like we don't need to know everything about the session, but like we've got a lunch break, we've got this. Then it feels like you can like pace yourself a little bit better. You can manage your energy. Otherwise, sometimes you can just go like all in and then you're crashed out at 2.
Totally.
And then you've got an afternoon, another 4 hours of creative task, and you're there like,
where is the creative juices?
questioning your life, like, wow, how did I end up here?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I would say that you've got a wealth of experience, both as a dancer, both as a creative, and like going into different spaces. I know, don't look at me like that. You do, Vidya. Like whether you admit that or not. What is one thing that you've learned from being self-employed that has benefited your career and or personal life, or just like how you're choosing to live life at the moment?
I think adaptability, like there's a lot of that.
It's true.
Big transferable skill for all the freelancers.
Yeah.
I think another thing is, which again, it's interesting because sometimes in work situations or like studios, I will really make that time to like figure out what that person needs.
Yes.
And I think that's a transferable skill into like personal life that I'm like, whoa, I need to do that more. Because sometimes in like the nuances or like the time taken in a studio is a beautiful thing to be able to take into personal life. And yeah, sort of learning from people who have different perspectives like as well, and being open. So I think that's a big thing.
Definitely. I've like had situations where I've seen something happen in leadership and I was like, I would have handled this so differently. But you see someone's response and you're like, wow, how did you arrive there in such a way where it's holding space for someone else whilst also like, I don't know, I've just seen some really wonderful people kind of like handle situations. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then I'm like, wow, the word for me is patience.
That's incredible. Yeah, that word patience is
it's
huge.
facts.
Yeah.
It's big facts. I thought I was patient and I am in some things.
Yeah.
And then in other things, I'm like, most people who know me know that I am, even though I'm chatty on this right now, I'm not always the most talkative person in the room, I don't think. Most people know that there's like a stream of things that's going on inside of my head and it's like being filtered. Before it enters into the room. But actually, I think that process when leading a room or even just like leading your life is actually quite helpful.
It's very helpful.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's that moment to just be like, wait, do I need to say this in this way? How is this going to impact the other person? Is this sort of consideration?
Yeah.
For...
I think I need more of that in present life.
Okay.
Because I think in the studio, yes, but I think in present life, obviously over the past year, you know, with marriage as well, we, you know, learning that like is literally a collaboration that is going on for life. And it's like, again, learning in a new way of, okay, how do you communicate? Even though you've been communicating for ages, it's like, okay, what is another way of communicating to understand one another? Yeah. But I think overall patience for oneself as well.
Oh, that part. Yeah, we've got to be kind to self. And so what is one thing that you'd say that you wish you'd learned sooner? It can be personal, it can be career, it can be a combination of any of those things. But it's something that you wish you'd learnt sooner.
Ooh, I think a lot.
Facts.
I think a big one is probably like financial, of like learning. I wish there was more conversation about that. Like when you come into your freelance life, of like possible ways that you can save or certain sort of formats that will in the long term help you more. Yeah. Or things that you can do. And again, I'm still learning, but I think having more regular conversations about this would definitely like help demystify. But as you said as well, in terms of like people's earnings, like I think that transparency
it's not there.
It's not there.
It's really not there in the industry at all. And I'm like, why?
And I think that can maybe empower people as well.
I agree.
More to be like, actually, no, we can do this and this.
Yeah.
Regardless of being like, you know, seen as not to be able to. I don't know.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
So do you think if we had more transparency around our finances and how we make money in the arts, specifically in dance, that our earning potential would be increased because we'd know how to manage it better?
I think totally that, but also the unionization.
Right.
Like in terms of if people may be more transparent with like, what pay? Oh, all right. Okay.
Everyone's hiding their pay, don't they? They're like, ooh.
And then like you can be like, actually, maybe I could ask for more here. And again, very subjective, you know, when possible, when not. There's certain projects that, you know, this is like, it's not all about the money.
Yes.
However, I think what you mentioned about the transparency and managing it better, I think could propel individuals as well in different ways, or collectively even.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, but I think there's potential.
No, I agree. And I think actually I'm on a similar page to you. I'm like, no surprise. No surprises there. Of like looking at finances as a freelance dancer and creative differently. When I was younger, it was just like, you earn your money and then like you spend your money. You like live your life. There isn't any talks about when you get your first tax bill and like ensuring that you've got money aside to pay, because dancers are like, I don't know. Well, I feel like the attitude towards like tax, for example, is just like, oh yeah, it's fine, you know, and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, savings, you can't is not a good way to put it, but saving just to pay a tax bill doesn't allow always for savings in life. Yeah. And then you need to be prepared for what if there's a slow month.
Exactly.
And you need to keep that going because projects will come ultimately. Yeah. Work does come ultimately, but just not always at the same pace, not always at the same season of things in that way. So I agree that how we manage our money can definitely be something that is spoken a little bit more about.
I'm glad it's not just me as well. I'm like, yes, I think it can just help everyone. Yeah. And also that thing of sometimes you may know that a certain amount of money is coming in, but then once you invoice, then it's like...
Can we take a moment? Why is the invoicing so slow?
So slow.
Like you will do a job and then you probably won't get paid for like 28 to 30 days.
Exactly. And you're like, oh, okay, that's in the next month now. Yeah. Like, so even that, like factoring that in, that I'm like, okay, actually, yes, I know that that's, you know, potential money that I'll be paid, but who knows when I'll get paid by it.
Yeah, that's true. But it's just like, how do we speed that up? Because I know there's different payroll systems and all of this type of stuff. For anyone who is entering the freelance world, be prepared to wait for invoices just because that's the reality of how it is. This is also, we're not advisors. We're not financial advisors.
Definitely not. I think
disclaimer.
Get that. Yeah. Disclaimer. And actually get that. I would be like, looking back, I'd get financial advisors straight away. Boom.
Valid. I was just like at 21, I was not thinking about that. Yeah. I was just like, woo, I'm dancing.
I was on tour buying books at the bookstore. Yeah, like, I know every tour I came back with books.
Did you?
I was like, yeah, but it's from this page.
You're so funny. You were in the bookstores and I was in the clothing stores, for sure. I was in the clothing stores for sure.
Well, I joined you. I remember we went to America. We were like running and then
Do you remember that?
The glasses.
Oh my gosh. Where was that? Was that in New Jersey?
I think it was in New Jersey,
That's insane. I will never forget that. You were like, oh. We went out to here.
Some shopping experiences.
I mean, I was always in the shops.
But I still wear those jeans that I bought there.
Do you?
Yeah, I still do. Like, there's some good pieces.
100%. It were investments. That's how we're going to look at it.
Yeah.
They were investments. I always like to include a section called Know Your Worth. I think as dancers and artists and creatives, we can learn to know our worth a little bit more. So like, what does knowing your worth in dance or in art look like to you?
I think knowing my worth feels like, that's a deep one. That's a deep one there. Energy, just knowing, okay, actually, this is going to take a lot more energy, even if I may want to do it, like trying to factor in that downtime of like, okay, after this, do I have the downtime? If not, what can I do to give me that source of energy that I need?
Yeah.
Whether it's just for rest as well. But I think knowing my worth over the early career that I'm in is kind of like just saying no as well.
Yeah.
Like just being like, no, like that's, I'm not going to do that.
I'm gonna do that. Yeah, and that no is a full sentence
Yeah,
too.
I think that's the biggest thing. And knowing worth of like spaces as well, like
Yes.
what spaces, what maybe not, or actually just trying to be conscious of my emotions as well, and being like, oh, like why am I feeling that way?
That's a
like,
very real thing.
like what's going on there?
Yeah.
And then just being like, okay, like maybe it's this or that and the other. So I think taking time to like acknowledge, reflect, and being like, yeah, what you did was amazing. Like, you know, whether it's like just turning up,
Yeah.
you know, for a new class or something.
Yeah.
Recently I'm trying to go to more classes that like trying to just be like, okay, I'm going to try things out, whether it's this class or another class or like dance, not dance.
Which classes have you been taking recently?
I've been doing contact improv.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
How do you like it?
Well, again, very early days of like, because I feel like maybe in some projects I have maybe done, but not been like led through, or actually going to a room where it's just like full of people I don't know.
Yeah.
And then being like, okay, we're going to be contacting each other. Like, so I think for me, I'm just like trying to get into different places that I probably would be like second thinking
That's amazing.
that. But again, like I totally don't know anything much about it. And actually a project that I'm on, the choreographer is a good friend as well. It was like, yeah, like maybe you should try this out. So it was like through recommendation as well, which I was like, okay, this is like nice to have like an insight into another place. But yeah, just seeing how it goes and trying to get to classes when possible.
That's amazing, because actually, especially I feel like as we get older, and in some cases established as an artist and like what you do and what you create, going in to be a beginner in somewhere new, it's really daunting.
I felt like I was back at school.
Yeah.
I was like approached and I was like, I literally don't know anyone here. But then everyone's so kind when you get to a space, and then they're like, oh, who are you?
Just like welcome you in.
Yeah. So yeah, slowly like just trying to venture to more things. And there are a few more as well that I'd like to do, but again, like also try not to overcommit, because I do have that issue of like trying to.
Me too.
I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And when it gets to that week, I'm like, what?
Yeah, why have I done this to myself? Why have I scheduled all of those things?
Yeah.
A classic question. What is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Ooh.
Classic question, but actually quite helpful.
I would say to my younger self, like, just keep going, like, just keep doing. Believe in yourself.
Yeah. Scream it from the rooftops. And any advice to the wider dance community, or something that you're like, oh, I'd like people to leave with?
Yeah, I think like, you know, always like in spaces, just know, I think knowing your worth is also knowing your like uniqueness as well. Like everyone has something so unique, and sometimes like you might be able to resonate with other people. You might be like totally different from them, but actually just own it and just be like, yeah, coming through with some uniqueness here.
That's a classic video line. I love that.
And this is still me like reminding myself as well. I'm like, yeah, just go into spaces, own it. And I think just try and just be yourself.
Yeah. Be yourself. Absolutely. You can't be anybody else.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
Do you have any projects lined up or anything that you're working on that you're happy to share?
Yeah, like I'm doing a project with another artist, which I'm excited about, being in the studio. In terms of like ones that I may be delivering, I've got like a solo coming up, which is really short though. It's like an excerpt.
Yeah.
It's actually not in the UK, but which is
That's
nice.
exciting.
Yeah, which is like
Where are
I'm
you
just
gonna
gonna
be?
like I'm gonna be in LA.
You're wait, you
okay.
can't. You're saying this so casually. Like you're
It's
not
coming
going.
up soon. I'm like, okay, I need to like really like continue with that. But it's that thing of it. It's been a while that I haven't really worked on a solo, and I feel quite nice that it's also outside the UK.
Yeah.
In that sense, just to like give myself that space, and then when I return, I just like see how I can dive into that, and then I guess like just other things, seeing what is out there, trying to work with other collaborators that we've been working for a long time and seeing, okay, how can we, bring things together. So there's a lot of researching in the background. I guess like dates soon,
Yes.
but it's all in the works at the moment.
I mean, that's exciting. I mean, it's so wonderful that you're performing and performing outside of the UK. You get to bring your beautiful art to people across the pond, across the Atlantic. And also, like, our work is not just that on stage. It's not just that stuff in the studio. It's also all the admin that we have to do, the connecting with people, the producing work. Essentially, we end up doing, well, I'm not a producer, but we end up doing some things in line with the producing work to get these things up and running. So I appreciate you sharing that, and it's good for people to know. So on that note, thank you so much for taking the time to join me for today's episode. It's been so good just having our chats.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like back to Austin times.
Yeah, for sure.
Now it's time for you guys. What do you think? Is having a work-life balance achievable within the arts? And if yes, how do you manage to do that? Share the word so that we can jump on board and create a better balance for all of us here in the arts. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And also, if you have any other questions that you want us to answer next time, let us know then. Until then, like, comment and subscribe.
Love
I've got
it.
to ask the people to do that. And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.